Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creative Writing with Dr. Nagel. I'm your host, Tanya Nagel, and today we are here with author Andi M. Long from the Rituals and Runes box set. I always say runes, so I have to pronounce it out. So
better with some
welcome.
like rumbly castles. Hi there, everybody.
So Andi, tell us a little bit about how you got started as a writer.
Okay, so I always said that I would write from being little, and it just got where I got to the age of 40 and thought, are you going to do this now or not? So I joined a creative writing course, started a competition with another student who could finish our first book first. And that was it. I started looking for a trad deal and didn't get anywhere. I got lots of good feedback, but didn't get. The two books that I'd written were had been a bit spicy, and I'd taken the spice out. And then 50 Shades came out. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write another book. I'm going to put all the spice in. And that was it. Never looked back since. And that was 8 years ago. So that's the background to my writing. And I wrote all sorts of different things. I write P&R, I write contemporary. I'm trying to stick with P&R now, but you know what it's like when you're a writer and you get the muse, you go off key a bit.
Yeah, to follow the muse.
Yeah.
And so that was going to be my second question is what do you write? So you write paranormal and you write contemporary, and how did you end up in the ritual set?
I'd seen the cover, that really lovely cover for it ages ago, and then a space car just happened to be on Facebook one night, and Gina said, there's space come up, we need somebody who's established, who's got a P&R background. And I just felt as if, that's right. So I just quickly messaged and said, I'd be willing to step up. I can get straight in to it. And she was like, yeah, that's great. And so I felt a bit like that had just come up my feed at the right time. It was that cover that I'd seen before, that had been a full set. So I thought, I'm doing it. I'm going in there. So that's how I got in. So I was last minute straggler.
Awesome. And then, so coming into a box set, right? Because there's probably a lot of people who've been in collections or anthologies, and they've gone well or they've gone poorly, and there's just so much that goes on with them. But we are in a list aiming set, meaning that everyone is working very hard to achieve the potential of being on a bestseller list.
Absolutely.
And how do you feel like that is different from a regular release?
I think for me it's very different because a lot of my books I'm wide, not in P&R yet. I'm just starting to move P&R over, but in a lot of stuff I'm wide, and I'm very bank over rank, and I don't particularly focus on release days. I don't do a big massive release day push because I think of it over long term, and that I'm in this for years. And my new release that's coming out is book 5 in a series, so it's with the established readers, and I'm pushing book 1. So I don't have that big surge unless I'm having a sale on a book. And I had a little thing this year that I wanted to get a top 100 books. So with that one, a bit like the stuff we do for Rituals and Runes, I was like pulling out all the stock because I'm quite laid back usually in my approach to things. And so that one's very intense. But in some ways, it has taught me so much, whether it makes the list or not. It's taught me so much about just how much effort you can, more effort you can put in than perhaps what you do. Like the posting the book in the groups every week and things like that, doing lots of takeovers, which is one of my tasks. I probably, because I'm quite shy, would have not done something like that. And now I'm thinking, going forward with new books, I'll make sure I do more social media. So yeah, it's the intensity, I think.
I completely agree. Like when I told her when I signed on, and she says, you know, like these things are never guaranteed. It's all about the work. It's all about the timing. It's all about the, you know, the crew. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I would pay this much to be in, you know, a continuing education class, and it has
Yeah,
been such an education. And when people ask about buy-ins for these sets, I think that they forget that it's a publisher on the other side of it, um,
absolutely.
and that publisher has to know the marketing part of it. And the reason why people come together in sets is because it is the rare person who just unless you take out like a small business loan, who just has the money and the knowledge to operate the amount of ads and the amount of like promotional, like purchase paid for
Absolutely.
promotion that is out there. Like no one person can just do that. Um, by themselves unless they have been, I don't, like again, like saving or a small business loan or something. It
I completely agree. And I think with Gina, I'd watched her in other sets and I'd seen that she, you know, she's no nonsense, very efficient. And that was something that I wanted to get on board with, where you knew that the organizer knew exactly what they were doing. Christine's brilliant support as well. And, you know, if they say go and do this, you go and do it because you know that it's going to benefit the set. Yeah, reliable people. So that was another thing. But I agree with you. I mean, if you have a sale, you can spend that much, can't you, on your promo altogether in paid newsletters and ads that you don't know what the outcome is. So it's not really, I've not thought of it like what you've said, but it's very true. You are gaining that experience from it. And yeah, and there isn't any guarantees on your buy-in.
and you know, but it's still an investment, and it's definitely an investment in education on authoring for
It
sure.
is. It
um
is.
and I love the fact that like especially with Gina's sets, that she's very organized. Everyone, like everything has a place, everything is in the place, and I appreciate that. Like the Marine in me just needs to know, give me my mission, give me my tasks, I'm going to do those, and you know, to the best of my ability, and at least I'll know like I did what I was supposed to do. um
That's same, and I get enthusiastic about everything. So I'm like, right, I'm doing this. Do you need me to like, do anything else? And it was like, no, you've got that one task. Do you just concentrate and go and have you done the best, like you said, best of your ability? Have you done enough of that task now? Go and do a bit more on that task. You don't need to do any more. And I loved that there were those pieces put together to put the set together. I know I remember asking about the paid newsletter stuff, and it was like, that's all booked. And it was like, wow, really? Love it.
yeah, it's great having like your zone of responsibility. I feel like that, and I've implemented that in my little sets that I do are very like low steam, you know, like low stress, low whatever. But I've
Yeah.
definitely implemented that because it gets confusing, and then you know, things get dropped when everyone is trying to do everything, and like that's what I
Yeah.
do in my author life already, which is why I know that it's not easy or effective
Yeah.
because
I'm exactly the same. I'll start writing something, then I forget about marketing, and then I'll think, oh no, I've dropped that one now. I need to pick that back up, and then I'll get behind on writing. 8 years later, still trying to get that proper system going.
and I think that that's a continuous thing. And then with indie authors, you know, I think that when I started, you know, over 15 years ago, even with small press, and then even when we went to indie, there just wasn't all of this. There just it just wasn't like there wasn't all of the social media there,
No.
and you were still kind of just relying on your website, or your blog, and that was it. Like that's all you had, and word of mouth, and
Yeah.
I think like some Yahoo groups, like that was what That's what
That's
it
even
was.
before I started. Yeah, that's well before I started. It was just
It's,
Facebook, I think, when I started.
oh my,
And such a small amount of authors, not this great amount of authors that there is in this day and age.
yeah.
A much smaller group.
And now it's like, it's just so, there's just so many places, and you're your own little CEO,
Yeah,
you know, having to divvy up the responsibilities. And then when you come into something like this and you see like on the massive scale, like the big scale of like why it takes so many people to do it. And
yeah.
I know that sometimes people will also they'll feel that, you know, like they have like different feelings or whatnot about the anthologies and then hitting the list and then the authors having, you know, that on there. But one, I would say that all of us are working our butts off. So we
Absolutely.
definitely earned that.
I always think that when people say these things, think, well, just come and have a look at what we've been doing.
Yes. And
And
then
and you know, and that is the rule. You know, whatever anybody thinks about it. And yeah, I'd love to get it on my own. I'm sure everybody would. But
yeah.
the rule at the moment is that you can get it as part of an anthology, and that's fair enough. Loads of other people have. I know some people who've got it because at the time years ago when BookBubs could just, you got a BookBub deal, you were on USA Today, you were on New York Times. It's no different. You know, if you were going to pick at it, how many people would you actually take that title away from?
Oh
If you
my
thought it had
goodness.
assistance, you know,
And
and where do you draw the line?
right. And well, in traditional publishing, like this has been their go-to forever. You'd always have like, you know, big name author, somebody you have no idea in a book that would come
Yeah,
out. It would hit the list because big name author and big name author is definitely going to hit that list. So
yeah,
so somebody you don't know in that little collection would have that title, and then when their book came out, people were always like already like, oh, okay, this is an established, like no, they're brand new, they've only had
yeah,
like short story before.
yeah.
So it's like when people talk about gaming the system, it's like the system is the game. Like that has been the way this has been done forever. There are very few actual diamonds where people have made that happen with their individual readership over, you know, over the course of time, and that has taken
Yeah, through organic
a lot
build,
of
it's
time.
like, it's not many, is it? And it's not like we're all putting together and doing nothing. We're
Right.
working really hard,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that hard work, you know, deserves its reward. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got to try for these things. It'd be lovely to put it, you know, I know it's not, I don't think it's going to do anything particularly to any of us careers. I know lots of people who've got it and it's not lifted them to another level, but it's a thing that you want to achieve. You want to tick it off your list. Like I said, I just did that trying to get a book in the top 100 because I've released like 70 books now and I've been near but not there. And I managed to get it to number 35. So it was like top 40, which is just like tick. But I earn more money with my books that are full price, that I
Right.
sell less of. But it's just, you want these things for as part of your author career.
And for me, part of my resume, you know, like it's a significant difference. And I remember in an interview, and then I had called back about, you know, like the follow up, and then the the hiring manager essentially, they were like, well, you know, yeah, we understand what, you know, your degree and how long you've been doing this and your background and blah blah blah. But and at that time it was a young adult author that I was competing with for that job, and they're like, but would you rather take your creative writing class from Dr. So and so or New York Times, USA Today,
Yeah.
you know, Newsweek, like whatever, you know, Washington Post, you know, award winning, you know, those. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
get
And
it, but I
yeah,
don't like it. You know?
I know, it's just so wrong, isn't it? How can you know, you've got your doctorate, but that wins. And, you know, and I no disrespect to anybody, but I know people who sell very little books, but they've been in a set and they've got the USA Today. But by the same token, when they've I know how much effort that they've had to put in, whether they sell a lot on their own or not. So, you know.
It's a rough thing, but that totally revolutionized my view of it. And I was like, oh, okay, no, I get it. Because I would, if I were on the schedule competing with that person for students.
You'd pick that one, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't look at the background of it. You would just pick that one. You're right.
So I'm like, all right, so that's why I am in it, and I am hoping to do it as a one and done. But if not, then I might have to run again, because I need that for my resume.
And the same, I mean, I said I wouldn't do it again, but then you forget that you've said these things. It's like when you say you're not going to have another kid. And you go, oh gosh, I'm doing it again. Hopefully we won't have to.
Yes, yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Yes, hopefully they can all just be like low-key relaxed sets that you just
absolutely
enjoy and have fun with. Oh. So then what is your story in the collection? Which one is yours in?
It's called Slayer versus Player. So my story is a paranormal romantic comedy. I love writing paranormal rom-coms, and I had a cover for it first, so I already had a bit of an idea of what the book would be before I was asked to take part in the set, before I got accepted into the set. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to write that one. And it's coming up to Buffy. I was a huge Buffy fan. And it's coming up to Buffy's 25th anniversary. So I wanted to write a story that had a Slayer in it. So this story is about a big family of vampires and a big family of witches. And the vampires years ago took over this little village called Beastwick. And now the witches have come to claim it back. So it's all lots of banter between sort of like, the good-looking male vampire who's a bit too cocky and a bit too sure of himself, and then sassy witch comes and plays some tricks on him and stuff. But then they end up being kind of fated mates. They're told that somehow it will be them together that manage to rule Beastwick, and they're not happy about that. So it's very much an enemies to lovers kind of so I could have a lot of fun, be very silly. So it was a pleasure to write, and I'm hoping to write some more in that series eventually. I've got so many characters. It like, when you've got name book, you're thinking, why have I decided there's 8 vampires? Why have I decided there's 7 witches? Then you've got the, next generation, the generation above. I'm thinking, what have I done here? I think it took me as long to do the family tree as it did to write the book.
I do the same thing. Like, and you really are like, do you use graphics for it? Because I know for mine, I did like a whole like chart of I could keep up with
exactly the same. Who's married to who, and the ages, which one's which one have I put? It's a bit wimpy. Which one have to remember? Why do we do this? We could just write a book that has 2 characters, but no, let's put 47 in it.
And I find that I find that I do that sometimes almost like more with my paranormal. Like I find, there's this added person that I'm like, why are you here? But
and they normally go, because we want to be a main character.
Yes, exactly. And it's like the next thing you know, like they're getting their own story, and people are asking about that character. And that's what, one of my favorite things is when people want to know more about a family or a series or something. And that, I mean, I will write a book for 3 people. Like if 1 to 3 people ask about something specific in one of my books and they want more of it, then I'll end up writing it, because I'm like, oh, someone is interested in what you're in this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's amazing. And to know that like you can put a story out there and that keeps somebody up at night late reading, or it's just an amazing feeling, isn't it? Yeah. I like, the thing I like about paranormal is doing the setting. I used a seaside place in one of my series, and then in this latest series I've like made the places up, and it's so nice because people feel like it's a real place, and you know, they like to read the next book because they want to go back to that place that you've just entirely made up. And I just think it's like, why is it not real?
I know. Yes. Well, and I think that's the best. I mean, for me, it's like the best part of fiction is the escape.
Yeah.
You know, and the best part of paranormal fiction for me is the complete escape. It's the same, like the best part of sci-fi for me is the complete, you know, escape from this world, this realm, this,
Yes.
you
And
know,
the
in some
rules, you
way.
can just throw everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us where we can find your work in addition to like you know, like Amazon and the retailers. Do you have like a website, social media?
Yeah, I've got a website, andymlongwriter.com. So you can find out there where to get my books, and you can get some free sort of prequel things to download. Yeah, I'm like I say, I'm on Wide, I'm on some apps, I'm on Radish app, Kiss app. So I'm to selling from a website yet. It's something to think of later. I have no idea how to navigate that one. So, but yeah, so it's mainly Amazon for P&R. I've got 2 other pen names, and they're more wide. But as I said earlier in the interview, I'm starting to do P&R Take It Wide now, like I have everything else. I sort of tried it out with contemporary and was happy there, and so I've just moved Vampire Wants a Wife and Supernatural Dating Agency wide, so you can get Vampire Wants a Wife for free on all retailers.
Nice. So see, you can go try out her
Set.
work. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the multiple pen name, because this is me, this is my, you know, my name. But I write under 3 different pen names, and I have, you know, probably within like the past 3 years, everything has just merged under one website with different tabs.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's hard work. And if I could have my time, it's really difficult. I love writing different stories because sometimes you just feel in a darker mood, so you want to write dark books. But from a business point of view, I wished I'd had one lane and stuck to it, because the people who I started writing with at the same time are a level above myself now, because they stuck to one thing and the readership grew and stayed. Whereas some of my readers, I think some of them will say, won't they, like, oh, if you wrote a shopping list, I'd read it. But a lot aren't going to go from paranormal to contemporary. Or my other one is psychological suspense, so very different. So in some respects, you're starting again when you keep switching, which is why at the moment I'm concentrating on P&R and just taking the foot off on the other ones a little bit, and just seeing if I can just keep this readership going and keep it growing. What will the muse let me is the the thing.
yeah.
Or will I see a cover like I do and think, oh, I've got this whole plot worked out for that, let me just buy that cover randomly and write another story for it. But yeah, I really shouldn't. I should stick to the same thing. But in terms of Instagram and TikTok, I've kept just Facebook, I've got separate. My reader groups together, because it's just, and I've got separate newsletters. I'd recommend definitely separate newsletters. I think then you are only messaging the people who want to hear about that particular genre. Mm-hmm. The other stuff, not so much. I think if you're chatting in your reader group and you're saying what you've been up to that weekend, it doesn't matter. and you can say, oh, I've got this coming out, and the ones who are interested will read it and the others won't. So yeah, not everything's split, but it's a lot of work.
It is.
So whatever you've got to do it 2 and 3 times. You're sending out that, multiple emails and newsletters and things. It's a big juggle, and you need to be organized.
Yeah. I have the one newsletter, but I have 2 versions of it. So the one that goes out on the second Saturday of the month is the light side.
Yeah.
And then the one that goes out on the second side of the 4th Saturday of the month is the dark side. So, and I just kind of keep the content based there. And there is a difference in the opens, and there's a difference in the clicks, but like they know, if it's light side, it's going to be more, up, happy, and contemporary, lighter.
And there are a lot of people who will read both sets of your books, won't they? But that's good, because you're giving them that, they know that this week it'll be light or this week it'll be dark. But it is hard, because you want to retain your readers, but there are so many authors now. It's increasingly harder and harder to keep those faithful readers. Yes, I think newsletters are definitely something that's very important, because people, and readerships are growing off Facebook now. Everybody's getting older, and like, I'm still on Facebook, but none of the current 20-year-olds are on Facebook, and you've got to try and attract those as well, which is where things like TikTok come in, although I'm no good at TikTok whatsoever. I never get more than 200 views.
Yeah,
I need somebody to tell me the magic spell for TikTok.
I don't know what the magic spell for TikTok is. Like that platform it's interesting. I watch things, but it's crazy. So I have one more question, which is, if you could go back and talk to you when you first started out as a writer, what advice would you give?
My advice would be to write what I wanted to write, not what I felt, not to censor myself as I did in the early days. It would be to write the spice and the actual words I wanted to put down, and not be thinking about what other people were going to think about them. I think I restricted myself a lot, and definitely to stick to one genre. And I wouldn't have listened to myself if I went back again, I'm sure.
But it would have been good advice.
That's what that's what I needed to do. But I've always been rebellious, so.
I always tell people that too. Like, it's always I know what I should be doing. That does not mean, so I will give you good advice. Like, this is solid advice, but please don't think that because I'm giving you the solid advice, it means that I'm also following it.
Exactly.
Like, I know I should too, but that's why I'm not going to judge you if you don't follow my advice. Yeah, I'm not either.
I've written myself a provisional 2023 thing, and it's got paranormal on it, and I'm thinking, come on, where is it? It's gonna come. That cover, or that sexy idea, or that murderous idea, and then I'll be doing something else and not doing what I planned at all. But keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So this is it. Thank you to Andi and Long and the Rituals and Runes collection for coming over. You will actually be my first YouTube guest, so that'll be exciting. We'll see how we launch.
Honored. And excuse my nervous giggle because I was scared. Everybody, it's 99 cents. Go and buy Rituals and Runes to read my Slayer versus player. It's worth it. It's worth it for the individual stories, and you get 20 to 30. I think it's 30 now, isn't it, or something? But it's just so worth it. So go get it. Go buy it.
Go get it. Absolutely. Get it while you can.
And it's so lovely to speak to you and actually put a face to a name.
Yeah. yeah, and I think this will be, I like this part too.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Okay, so this
That's
has
great.
been another episode of Creative Writing with Dr. Nagel. You can find other episodes on the podcast and check back on the YouTube channel for more interviews.
All right. Thank you. Bye.